Right.
Hello again, everyone. I am Dee. This is another episode of Spiritually Speaking. I have another amazing guest today. This is Jewel. And Jewel, I'm so grateful that you decided to come on the podcast with me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to dive into whatever this conversation is going to bring today for those who are meant to be hearing it.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
so beautiful, by the way. I meant to tell you that earlier, but
Aw, thank
so
you.
everyone can hear me
Thank
tell you. You're welcome.
aw. So are you.
Thank you.
I think we all are. We just all are. I see beauty in everything and
Yeah.
everyone. And yeah. And it's that journey of seeing beauty in ourselves and recognizing and really receiving when others can feel and see that beauty in us. So thank you
Yes, you're
for
very welcome.
receiving that fully. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. I love your white hair. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's silver. My husband was the one that coined it as silver. And it I actually on my podcast I was talking about my hair going silver in the last 5 years of my sister's life. And um, it was just so fast and it went completely white. And I had black hair and it was long and I would dye it. And I was pregnant at the time. And I decided, well, I don't wish to put the dye into my hair because it penetrates into the epidermis while I was pregnant. So I actually not quite shaved it to bald, but shaved it to, the thinnest, shortest hair that I could, and then just started a new chapter from there, and then discovered, wow, there's a lot of white here, silver here. So I just, it's, just embracing it the way that it is. I was 35 when my hair turned silver. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
incredible. It's so pretty. I'm growing mine out. I'm getting rid of the blonde, but it's a process. It's a little long, but it's about down to here.
Yeah,
Mine.
it is. Yes. Well, I think because mine was so black, dark brown, not jet black, but the contrast between like the white and the black was I would have the skunk line,
Yeah.
and therefore needing to dye it more often. And I thought, no, I'm not putting this on in my body anymore. So
It's amazing how those
yeah,
natural transitions happen, isn't it?
it is. It is. In
Yeah.
divine timing. We're not in charge here. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit
So
about.
I will. I through the journey of life have transitioned from, for years and years, my career was as a career coach, career advisor in corporate, working for the government. And then I transitioned to entrepreneurship where what I was looking for, I found, which was an opportunity to expand in being able to supply guidance to clients in a broader way and, reach into the depths of spirit and heart versus or beyond what I was able to do in that structure of my career. And I first started as a career coach online, but that didn't last long because there was just so much more, and became a spiritual mentor for coaches very quickly, for other life coaches, for other healers, for other practitioners who were looking to become an entrepreneur and bring their gifts into the world. And what I most care about and have always cared about in both my traditional career and this one has been to utilize my gifts to extract and pull through the genius in others and the ordained soul's purpose, and really, really connect them with why they're here, what they're here to do and be here on this planet, in service of future generations to thrive, because that's my big why, is really having the kind of impact where hearts become awakened, and so that people can really speak from heart, express from heart, work from heart, sell from heart, in service, serve from heart in a way that is authentic and completely aligned with their genius gifts, which requires to, put down the perception that we need to do it a certain way, or any kind of prescribed way, or the way that entrepreneurship online has told us that we're meant to do it, we need to do it, and really tune into the authentic voice and highest expression of this purpose on the planet. So I work with the energetics, and I work with really bringing spirituality and business together in one place, because I have come to believe for myself that if you're in business and you're not bringing your spirituality into it, and I say this because I'm wired as a spiritual warrior, having gone through so many things, not unlike most of us. We all have our story, the
Right.
adversity that we've all faced. But I'm wired to look through the lens of the heart, through the lens of spirituality in everything.
Mhm.
And I believe that when we can do that in our work in the world, and how we do business, and how we serve, um, and how we communicate, that we become integrated in a holistic way. We're not, sort of addressing one piece without
Mhm.
addressing the other. Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. That resonates with me so much because I'm doing the same thing as far as seeing the world in that way. And it's so incredible. I mean, it's like Technicolor almost, to me.
Uh-huh.
So
I get that. Yeah.
what do you feel like? I mean, I know there are so many reasons, but what do you find is the most common reason that you encounter for people not being able to or being unwilling to step into this kind of thought?
Well, you're right. There are many reasons, but I feel that the core reason is this. There's two that I encounter the most, and one is fear of our own power, like our own internal power source. There's just such a great source of power within us. And earlier I said we're not in charge, but there's another side to that. We have this internal power source where we are in charge of enacting what we receive, the wisdom, the divine wisdom that we receive. We're in charge of taking that and doing something with it.
Mhm.
And the fear of our own, like the raw power that lives inside of us, is a big one. And there's so much that comes with that, right? Like, if I step into this next greatest version of myself, I'm going to have to take responsibility. I'm
Yes.
going to have to be accountable. It's going to necessitate change. And the fear of change is so common in us as humans, because change invites us into the unknown. And so fear of the unknown, fear of power, fear of the unknown, which leads us. And so as a result of these common fears, we end up not being true to our true nature, and therefore becoming disconnected with the divinity that we are, becoming disconnected with the access to the higher wisdom, to the intuitive wisdom, to the heart wisdom that is available for us. And so inside of the disconnection, then you can see, how the disconnection manifests in daily habits, addiction, and not only addiction to substances, but addiction to deflecting, and addiction to staying busy, and addiction to avoiding, and like that. And it's, some people feel it's a very strong word to use, but it's an addictive propensity to, and used as an avoidance strategy, avoiding that connection with the divinity where this true power lies.
Yeah. Yeah. I have found that. I've
Yeah.
actually had conversations with people that are just like, I just have to keep my schedule filled. I don't want to ever have time to just for it to just be quiet. I don't want to, they don't want to think. I mean, I love
The
it. Like,
discomfort.
I love that
Oh, me.
silence. It's so amazing. And I'm like, yes, all of the messages, give me all of the messages, right? I love that. And I've had, of course it's a journey. It's been a journey to get here, but I love even just sitting with the uncomfortable emotions and things like that and still being able to see all of the amazingness still happening. But there's a lot of people that aren't at that space yet. So how do you
Mm-hmm.
encourage people to push pause on some of the noise so that they can reconnect to
Mm-hmm.
themselves and allow that and
Mm-hmm.
not be so fearful of that quiet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because it's so uncomfortable, and it's not something that they've conditioned themselves to um be present to. And it's so simple, yet it feels very not simple at all. But the presence to being in the moment is an art. I feel it's a skill that we can develop, and this has been my journey in developing the skill of coming into presence. And there's a couple of practical ways that people who are desiring to quiet the mind, the body, the spirit, so as to hear what the spirit has to say. And one is breath. Like, it's so simple, but yet we forget that
Right.
we are living, breathing entities. Like, we're given this opportunity of breath. It's a life-giving breath. And to literally stop and breathe, and breathe deeper than you did your last breath. And with a deeper inhale, a pause, and then a longer exhale than was the inhale. So as to, at the end of the exhale a little bit more to allow this space to just kind of settle, to allow yourself to settle into a new space that you're not accustomed to, because it's so easy to breathe unconsciously, right? We just breathe, and sometimes we hold our breath, and sometimes we don't breathe all the way to the end of itself and its capacity. So that's one thing, is to use breath consciously and remember to breathe. And when you know that you are not present, that you are struggling, that you are, encountering this place of offness, frustration, fear, whatever it is, your body will tell you. So another practical way is to tune in. And if your body's contracted, you'll know that there's something up,
Mhm.
without analyzing, without thinking, without asking, oh, what is this? Just literally the awareness of recognizing that your body is contracted. Maybe you're clenching your jaw, maybe your fists are tight, maybe your brow is furrowed, maybe, and it can be really, really subtle.
Mhm.
And just in the noticing that your body is tight, tense, you can ask the question, what's here now? And in the question, what's here now, the awareness in the question itself is enough to shift the energy ever so slightly to open to receiving the answer. So if you stop, notice your body's tense, ask what's here now, and choose to breathe, something new will emerge. without you having to think about it, and it will drop you out of your thinking mind into your body. And these are things we were talking about this episode that feel so obvious to me and obvious to people who have been practicing. And I sometimes forget that it's not everyone knows to do that. And so thank you for asking the question, because it reminds me, because I have to remind myself all the time. And these are some really basic tools that I've developed for myself that I experience the impact of right away because I've practiced. So it's like anything, the more a person practices really simple things and experiences subtle shifts, the more they become ingrained. And then the more there's an opportunity to open to the next level of depth and nuance and connection with the quiet, inside of the quiet connection with that divine wisdom that just, it's there. It never leaves.
Yeah.
And it's always available. We just don't hear it.
Right.
So
Yeah, we drowned it out with all
yeah,
that noise.
yeah,
We do.
yeah.
It's
And we
amazing
sure
how
do.
there
I
it
know.
always. I was listening to a lady who does videos on YouTube, and I hadn't listened to her in a while, and I listened to her yesterday and today, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool to just, no matter how long you've been practicing some of these techniques or ways of mindfulness, I don't even like to call them techniques as much as ways of mindfulness, you still need to
Mm-hmm.
be reminded sometimes that you just are. I mean, we don't have
Mm-hmm.
so hard. We make things so complicated as humans, and it's really not.
I know, I know. And I tend to um get serious about things, and it's like have to remind myself it's not so serious, like play.
Yeah.
I created a card deck last year, my own card deck, and I just pulled this card here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
It's play.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm leaving it here because that is, what I'm um, reminding myself of all the time. Like I don't need to make it hard. I don't need to complicate it. I don't need to be so serious. I can just play. And it really helps, really, really helps.
Mhm.
I feel like awareness as the first, like the first point of contact with awareness, being aware that you're aware is just so profound,
It
it
is.
really, really is. Because life is inherently dualistic, right? Like nature, Mother Nature is full of duality with the cold and the hot and the light and the dark and the storms and the sun and the droughts and the rain. And the spring and the fall, life is inherently full of duality. And so what this work has enabled me to really recognize is that I can actually embrace the duality by being present with it and
Yeah.
practicing these things. There are many others, but to be present with it and to understand that life is happening for me, it's not happening to me. And as soon as I can do that and lean into the difficult emotions that come with the duality and feel the emotion all the way to the end of itself, just like breathing all the way to the end of the breath, on the other side of the movement of that energy, because we everything is energy, and emotions are energy just wanting to move, and allowing them to move on the other side of the emotion is the alchemy, and is this clarity, and is the quiet, and is the spaciousness, and is the discovery and new awareness about what's actually really true.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's such a profound thought. It really is. And some of the ways we talk about things seem kind of funny, like being aware, but it is
Right.
so true. It's so true. You know,
Yeah.
who was it that used
Yeah.
to say that? I think it was Joe Dispenza in one of his meditations talks about being aware and of the space
Really?
that
Okay.
of the space that you
Okay.
occupy and the space around the space that you occupy. And it's a
Yeah.
it seems like a really simple concept, but some of the simple concepts are the most profound and they hold the most power, I have found.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Simplicity is underrated. The human just wants to complicate everything, and it
Yes.
really always comes down to simplicity. I mean, if you think about it, if you listen to anyone who is sharing spiritual teachings, if you listen to any religion even that is sharing about, the one's pointed place of awareness and presence, and that is God, the divine source, the universe. It always comes down, always. Everyone talks about it in a slightly different way, which is a beautiful thing because everyone's bringing their own authentic expression so that eventually, more and more people can hear.
Yeah.
And we're all saying the same thing. It's like this, the simplicity of getting present, becoming aware, and like being aware that what's here, like, and that question, what's here now? It's like that's such a profound question.
It really is.
And we don't necessarily give it the time of day until we decide to make it a practice, like a dedicated practice, and remember these words of power. And this is part of the heart healing language technology that I've been developing for a lifetime, unbeknownst to me, really. But understanding that words are power, they're living, breathing entities, and the energy inside of these simple words
Mhm.
have so much power, hold so much wisdom, that if we can tune into the wisdom beyond the meaning, you
Mhm.
know, as meaning making machines that we are, we assign story to everything, right? And if we could
Yes,
just
we
like,
do.
put that aside and come to the simplicity of the power and the energy inside the word, then that's when we're able to connect to these heart keys,
Yeah.
like these are truly words that can open the door to so much of our wisdom. And it's a practice, and I feel that I love the way that people on this planet are developing ways to explain the unexplainable,
Yes.
developing modalities and tools and methods to become present. It
Mhm.
really always is about the same thing at the core of it all.
It is. And I love that you're talking about language because that's something that is so right in front of my face right now, energetically. It's been like I'm so aware of it right now. And I've been really being diligently mindful of the words that come out of my mouth, and I will change them when I hear something come out. I'm like, oh, and I'll just change it into something different because it really, really requires attention to change the way that you've been speaking your entire life and the way that you have spoken, in past lifetimes. I'm sure was very similar because, not all of our past lives go back way, way back to when things were a little more simple than they are now. But it's incredible the words that we use and we don't realize the power they hold. And we're saying things
Mm-hmm.
like one of the things that I've noticed people say these days, and even people who are more aware will say things like, what kills me is and then whatever follows, and I want to say, but do you realize what you just said? I mean, you're putting that out there. You're putting it out there. And it
Mm.
seems, I even had someone tell me, well, the universe knows I'm joking. Really? Are you sure? You really want to take that
Aha.
chance that the universe knows you're joking, or would you like to just, and so because of that, I've been just being so much more mindful in my own, you know,
Mm.
practices to become so much more aware of the words I use. And
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. I thought some of the other things that I was, you know, putting my attention to were tough, but this one's it's so ingrained and we do it so automatically. It just happens and those things come out of our mouths. So just being very mindful. So I'm really, really glad that you brought that up. And
Mm.
you teach this, what did you call it? What did you
Mm-hmm.
heart something?
Heart healing language technology.
Yes.
And I so love what you're saying, because, and that's, you know, that is so important to learn. This is so important to learn. And it's not just what comes out of our mouths, it's not just the spoken word, it's the unspoken that
Yes.
is swimming in the undercurrent of our subconscious that we're not even aware is swimming there. And it comes out, conscious, through conscious voice, conscious expression, or unconsciously comes out where, oh, that kills me. We don't even know what we've just said. We haven't
Right.
even thought about it. And I think that this is a really, really powerful point around being vigilant about how we speak, and one of my part, a part of the body of this work is heart speak, because when we speak through the filter of
Mm.
the heart doesn't hold those kinds of energies. The heart holds high frequency, is of high frequency. It's a pure frequency, and it holds high frequency language. And sometimes it's through words, sometimes it's through feelings, sometimes it's through sensations. There's a whole ecosystem happening, but that's another conversation. But what you just said, is is really powerful, in that it's a really good starting point for people to decide that they're going to become more conscious about how they speak. And just know that there is so much more power in your speech than you can imagine.
Wow.
And even though you haven't yet discovered the power of your words, because abracadabra, do you know what the meaning of abracadabra is?
I've heard this before, but I
Magic.
don't. Yeah.
It's create what you speak. So we literally create what we speak. So there's so many layers of powerful nuances within what we speak. And
Mhm.
when we heart speak, now we're speaking through the filter of the heart rather than the filter of the conditioned mind, right? The programming that we've had all our lives. And to become aware of how we speak is truly a significant part of the personal development journey, because that's how we communicate with ourselves. And the way we communicate with ourselves will dictate the quality of our lives
Mhm.
entirely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I just launched the second season of my podcast, Conversations with Jewel. And the first episode I did last week was about this, about, accessing these the power of heart language mastery. And one of the exercises that I provided was that one way to remember, because you know how you just said it's hard, because
Yes.
we're literally retraining ourselves how to speak consciously, and from a place of higher, with a higher frequency intention.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I was sharing was about how, we as humans in 3D can remind ourselves, because it's so easy to just say things, or even to allow the subconscious to be speaking underneath without noticing. And one of the things that you can do is put a pebble in your mouth under your tongue, like a pebble, the size of a pebble, not too small that you couldn't feel it, and or choke on it or something like that, but the size of a small pebble, so you can feel it under your tongue. And every time I did this for a length of time, and it was when I first met my husband, and that's how I knew he was a good catch, because he said, okay, I'll do this with you. But we went on a trip, a very long road trip, and I said, I'm going to put a pebble in my mouth, and I may not be speaking a lot, and whenever you are about to utter a word, a sentence, a statement, a question, however you want to name that, you feel the pebble with your tongue, and you ask, is what I'm about to say aligned with my heart? Is it clear? Is it true? Is it, or is it based in fear, doubt, like all those things? So you use the pebble to discern and to become aware of what you're about to say. And that's kind of a step before what you just said. Like sometimes I'll say it and then I'll say to myself, I shouldn't have said that. But this is like something you can do before that, to train yourself to really be aware before the words are even uttered, because you create what you speak.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
And it's different
yeah,
words
I did.
like the word
Mhm.
hard, like you said, you just said the word hard, and I was like, oh, darn it. That's one of the words
Ah,
I have been being more mindful of, because is it hard? And when we say that it's hard, do we want to put effort towards doing it, changing it, being it, whatever, if we have convinced
yeah,
ourselves already that it's hard? So that is one of the words
that's
that I'm
right.
being more mindful of.
Yeah. And choose something different, like choose a different frequency. The
Right.
frequency of hard, can you hear it? Can you feel the frequency of that word?
Yeah.
It's hard. And then, say you had a pebble in your mouth and you're about to say, this is hard. You might choose to say, what if this was easy? Can
Yeah.
you feel the frequency of easy? It's like, oh, I could feel it right here. And how we speak really, really informs our body. And then now we're dipping into the realm of the body's wisdom that
Yeah.
responds immediately. What if this were easy? Whew. And now you're speaking ease into existence.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. I
It-
love language. I love heart language. And I'm always developing my own, and I'm always tending to it like a
That's a great
garden.
word. That is a great word.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so good. And gardens. Yeah, I actually did a little video of our garden this morning, because I was just thinking about kind of
Oh,
that
nice.
same thing, how, when we want to, when we, and that's another word, the want, because then you're speaking of black, because you're saying you don't have it, right? So there's another one.
Yeah.
So a great example.
Desire.
But when you're putting your attention towards creating a different outcome, and you are giving it the loving care that you would give your garden, you're giving it the sunshine and the water, and the keeping the weeds out, or whatever you're doing to take fertilizing it, and hopefully with something that's organic. uh, you know it creates a whole different atmosphere. You have to put that attention towards it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's about thriving, right? It's truly about thriving. And if you think of Mother Nature and her capacity to thrive through so much devastation and natural breakdown, the light of the sun and the nutrients of the water in the rain, and her capacity to regrow and to regenerate
Yeah.
and repatriate. If you think about after forest fires, it's devastating. And then the seeding and the repatriation that happens after it for new growth, for a new season, is just, it's pretty miraculous. And
Is
I love that analogy of the garden, because we have our own internal gardens. We have this whole ecosystem within us, this earth within us, that is pure magic. And there's so many levels of tending to ourselves and tending to our internal earth bodies that are available to us, and it requires conscious decision, choice, and responsibility.
yes.
And which leads us to reconnect with our internal power, to circle back to the beginning of this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did say that you coach or you mentor more people who are in the business world, like they're entrepreneurs, and you're teaching them to combine the spirituality and the 3D actuality, I
Entrepreneurship.
guess is a good way to put it.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
do you find there's
Mhm.
more resistance with people who are more driven in that way than there are in, say, someone who's a stay-at-home mom, for instance? Not that that's not a job, because I've done it and it's definitely it's definitely brought with challenge
Mhm. Do I find there's more resistance?
towards the spiritual side.
Um, oh, n not for those who are ready.
Yeah.
A lot of clients who have achieved a lot, who have, grown and scaled a business, and they've achieved what they thought they wanted
Mhm.
monetarily,
Yeah.
and yet there's something missing and they don't know what it is, and they're ready.
Yeah.
um, then the mentorship is a beautiful co-creation, because they're ready. They're at a readiness point to. It's really so much about surrendering to. I mean, again, we could have so many conversations here. So I feel like it's a readiness. Not necessarily, this group of people is more resistant than this group of people. A stay-at-home mom, and I've been a stay-at-home mom while an entrepreneur. And I've been a working mom outside of the house while, raising kids, um, while being on a spiritual journey, is, that I wasn't resisting because I was ready for it. So it really depends. It really depends on I feel like the readiness to embrace the spirituality. And oftentimes, people who come to me have been on a spiritual path, and they're ready for the next deeper layer. We go, deeper than they've gone before. And sometimes they're entrepreneurs, sometimes they're industry leaders who are really tired of what's going on in industry, what's going on in the workplace, but they're in a leadership position and they know they could make a difference, but they're bumping up against all the external constructs, and they have a desire to have a bigger conversation that's going to really initiate change in the industry. So whether it's industry, whether it's business, whether it's entrepreneurship, I think, because of, well, a couple of factors have come into play here, but because I was a career consultant for so long, the world of bridging the world of what we do for a livelihood, whether it's entrepreneurship or traditional work, like bringing the realm of what we do as a livelihood together with the realm of spirituality, is where that intersection happens, where we can truly bridge the two and live from the heart, from this heart space. in order, in service of, awakening the
Yeah.
hearts, other hearts, awakening people on the planet, people in the industry, people who are feeling the same way, but just, day to day being in the grind and not necessarily knowing what to do about it. And that's why I love working with leaders, because they have the capacity to have a voice. And so we work with where they're at in terms of the resistance to
Mhm.
their own powerful voice. Um, so if that answers your question.
It's so interesting, isn't it, that we are so resistant to our own power? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a sense of responsibility because that actually came out of my own mouth here recently in a conversation with someone. So, but it's still very interesting to me because you think, we talk about all of these things we want to bring into our lives, and there's that word again, but we live in this sense of lack, and we have this desire to create these bigger things, and we have all these dreams and that, but
Mm-hmm.
we're so afraid to embrace the actuality that we can do it. That's
Mm-hmm.
it's perplexing, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's fascinating at the same time to
Yeah.
me. Like the the fact that we're here, like we are designed to create, we're designed to evolve like nature. We're just designed as a reflection of Mother Nature. I always, much of my work brings us right back to our true nature, and we're designed to create. And oftentimes we're afraid to want what we want. We're afraid to dream, because if we were to realize our dream, we perceive that it would cancel out who we've been before in terms of, living inside of our limitation,
Mhm.
living inside of our identity of, like I am a person who, for whom things are hard. I am a person who can only go so far. And then if I go farther than that, that means that I'm going to have to change. And I don't want to do that because I've been entrained, I've been conditioned to meet the expectations of other people. So it's all so interwoven into our identity that is steeped in the external validation of the world. And, and it starts right from the beginning, right? Like I always had, it always bothered me when I had my kids and when someone would say, "Oh, she's such a good baby." And I said, "Well, we're all good. Like we're all good. Like, what do you mean good versus bad?" And then when, one of the babies would cry, right? Even we as parents, we do everything we can to soothe their crying, which sends them a message: don't cry, don't feel what you're feeling, because we need to fix this. So it just, to me, it threads right back into this really long standing lack consciousness
Yeah.
that humanity has carried for millennia. And, the power is kind of counter to that. So if we're not in lack consciousness, then who are we going to be? Who are we in our power? And the journey between, and this is the journey, but the travel path between arguing for limitations and, to put it in one way, and the state living purely in the state of power. The journey between that is that you have to cross the threshold, and when you're leaving your identity behind, but you haven't yet touched into or landed into who you're becoming, there's a space in between where you don't know who
Yeah.
you are. And it's really, really scary to not know. The uncertainty and the land of not knowing is very scary. And so it really feeds into the fear of the unknown. And it's really easy when you land in this, when you're on the journey and you're inside in between, suspended in between. and you don't know, it's really easy to just click right back into what you do know, which is your way of being that is, it feels safe to to be in that, um, although limiting, familiar space in yourself, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
does definitely.
Yeah.
That familiarity will make you stick with a lot of things, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's why I find it so fascinating, because there's so much power in us, and there's so much, like, in this land of potentiality. Potential is the unseen, right? Like, that's why it's potential, because we can't yet see it.
Right.
And it's so easy to create within the realm of what we already know, what we've read, what we've heard in a workshop, what we've seen on a video, what we've learned. And it's so easy to create within, the context of what we know, but to truly create, from the unseen is, it feels different, and therefore we perceive it to be scary. But and this is so interesting that we're talking about this now, because I'm so leaning into creating in the dark, like creating in this land of unseen, and not knowing what the outcome of my creation is. And it's becoming more and more and more and more familiar to me, and fun, and like playful,
Playful.
it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's this huge playground of
Yeah.
potentiality. Yeah.
And I think that's a great reframe, is from scary to playful and fun. Why does it have to be, why do we have to look at it that way? We get to pick how we look at
Mm,
it, you know? And
absolutely.
I don't know if you have, I'm sure you've heard of Lisa Nichols.
Uh-huh.
Of Lisa Nichols. She
The
has this quote,
speaker.
I wrote it down. Yes. Very powerful speaker. Holy moly. She's like,
Yes, she's
whoo,
so is.
she's a powerful,
She's
powerful lady.
incredible.
She says nothing has to give you evidence but your mind. I wrote it down because I was like, man, I need to hear that right now. And I wrote it down, and I periodically read it, and I've said it on podcasts before, but I think it's a really, really powerful message for that in between time when you're not quite there yet, to
Hmm.
where you're destined to be, but you've left behind that old you.
Exactly. Exactly. And asking, that part of yourself that is mind to, you know, like, allow you to not have evidence.
Yeah.
Like, it's like giving yourself permission to not have any evidence. It's
Yeah.
just, it's for the sheer joy of creating without needing evidence of the outcome. And it's the only part of us that needs evidence or creates evidence, or supplies us with it, is the mind, that needs that, that has been trained to seek that kind of safety. And the thing is I've learned along the way that I desire to give my mind a worthier task than to overthink, seek evidence, make meaning out of something, create a story out of something, analyze. And the worthier task is allowing my mind to be the creative partner that it can be, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that. That is that is so powerful. It really is
it
a
is.
worthier task. Give your mind a worthier task.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. So,
you're welcome.
is there anything else you would love to share with us today before we close out for the day?
Well, I feel like this conversation we could have for, it could go on and on, but I
Okay.
feel like we've had a really great conversation. And what I'm working on right now actually is, and is going to be released by the time this podcast episode is released, I believe, is I am offering a free 3-day soul purpose activation retreat.
Nice.
where people will come in and really tune into the energy and the essence of their actual why, like their actual purpose here, beyond words, inside the energy of it, and anchor it into their bones, into their bodies, beyond the concept of, this is my purpose and I'm here to do this and I'm doing this. And, what do I do to get to my next level? There's always, and I'm doing this because I've discovered this with my clients, where no matter what level we're at, the return to this orientation point of why we're really here, like our ordained soul signature and the expression coming through the expression of our purposeful work in the world, becomes more and more and deeply anchored over the course of time, every time we have a spiritual energetic upgrade.
Mhm.
So I am doing this as a dedicated 3-day retreat where people will really gain crystal clarity about not only their vision, their purpose, their mission, but how they can, how they can maneuver and navigate with this as their North Star. And, creating and crafting a purpose statement that actually resonates in their cells, not just words, but a
Yeah.
statement that truly resonates and they can feel it
Yeah.
beyond just the words. So that is going to be available. It is available, and the link will be in the show notes. So
Yes.
if this resonates with anybody on this podcast, anyone who's listened to our conversation and feels the desire, then I'd love to have you join me.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So this
that's
will be a virtual
yeah.
retreat. It won't be
Yes, yeah.
just clarifying that for our
Not
listeners.
yet. The in-person, there will be an in-person one, but I really want it to reach, people all over the world. So yes, it'll be a virtual retreat for 3 days, a few hours in the day for each of the days. And it's going to be experiential, hands-on, where we actually do the work inside. It's not going to be something where you come and you take notes and you consume and then you walk away and, move on with things. It's going to be an opportunity to actually do the work inside of the retreat
That's
so
all.
that you can have the experience of it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I have goosebumps just listening to you talk about it. So that sounds incredible. And where can
Thank you.
people find you? Are you on what kind of social media platforms are you on?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And people can reach me on my website as well. On my website in the work with me section there, I mean, my whole website is just it's an experience. Actually, I love it so much. But in the work with me section, there are a number of ways that people can work with me that range in, entry points, price points. And really what I love the most is to be able to talk with people who are interested in, in being in my world, in the Jewel universe, and finding out like what is the best entry point based on what it is that they need. And there's always something that can get people started. So yes, social media and my website. And yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
And I'll put the links to all that in the description box below this video so everyone can find you easily with just a click.
Thank you.
So
Thank
anything
you.
else? You're very welcome. Anything else you want to add today? And final parting words?
Uh, yeah, I think simplicity is the key, and really tuning into the heart and the simplicity of literally even putting your hand on your heart and connecting there and asking what's here now is the power. There is so much power in simplicity is what I want to leave people with.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be complicated.
right. I agree with you
Yeah.
so much on that. Simple. It really is simple. It really is. So thank you so much, Jewel, for being my guest today. I just love
So,
everything you said. It was amazing. So I'm sure our viewers will enjoy it as well. And I'm hoping that some people will reach out to you and connect with you. So and please, the retreat sounds incredible. So I'll put the links to that in the
mhm.
description box also. So thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Spiritually Speaking. As always, I will put the links in the show notes, like I said before, and the Spiritually Speaking podcast group, as always, will be linked in the description boxes and below the video as well. I'm having a hard time getting my words out right now for some reason. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one. As always, I love you all.